That tastes like burning. I'm a little afraid that we have 4 left.
Hello again. Welcome back to Hot AF, where we're going to talk about some more work comp and eat some more hot sauce. Today I'm joined by my friend, colleague, and attorney, Natalie Lund. Natalie, do you want to introduce yourself? She's a known hot sauce avoider, so this is going to be great.
I don't know if avoider is the right word. Natalie Lund. I'm a shareholder at Often 40. I've been doing this for about 16 years, which seems like a really, really long time. Argued a couple cases in front of the Minnesota Supreme Court, so I feel like I'm used to the heat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, this shouldn't be a problem for you then. Today we're going to talk about independent contractors, general contractors, and some of the issues that we see come up with those types of cases. Our first hot sauce here today is called Au Fraise Yes. It's a Fresno chili-based hot sauce. It's not terribly hot. We're going to go right in.
All right. That's not too bad.
No. So, independent contractor. When are we going to see that come up?
So we see independent contractors in many different industries. There are specific independent contractors that are listed in the statutes and rules. Minnesota Rule 5224.0010 has a list. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's consultants, babysitters, laborers, musicians. There's also a an independent contractor general statute that applies to industries that don't fall under one of these categories. We most often see them in trucking industries and in construction. That's where we usually see the independent contractors.
And there's a specific set of standards for construction and trucking companies, or trucking workers, correct?
Yep. So you have to follow, the list of factors in construction. There's 9 factors, and every single one of those factors has to be met. It's not just some of them or most of them. Every single one of them has to be met in order to prove that a potential employee is actually an independent contractor. It's a difficult process. We see it a lot in the UCWCP, which is the Union Construction Workers' Compensation Program, because we see a lot of construction, obviously, through that program. So this is something that we go through quite often, and the employers are usually used to having to evaluate these issues.
Got it. So of those, you mentioned some of the factors that we need to be looking at when we're evaluating whether someone is an independent contractor. I'm going to go ahead and encourage you to try the Mariachi Ninja, which is jalapeno based, and it's a little sweeter.
It's sweeter,
but
it's also spicy.
It's a little hotter. What are some of the difficulties that you most commonly see when you're dealing with an independent contractor defense?
I'm a little afraid that we have 4 left. So usually what I see in most of these independent contractor cases is the purported employer requests, proof of work comp insurance, some sort of proof that they're an independent contractor, or a contract that says you're an independent contractor. That doesn't matter at all. If you have a contract with someone that says they're an independent contractor, but they don't meet these 9 factors, you're out of luck.
Still have to do the factors regardless of other
regardless of any contract or paperwork that exists. I would say the most difficult issue is control. Whether the purported employer has control over what the alleged independent contractor is doing when they're on the job.
Okay.
That's a big one. That's a big one for any independent contractor, is the control. The means by which they perform the job, they have to have control over, furnishing their own equipment. Do they have their own business address? Are they registered with the Secretary of State? All of these things we would have to prove, but definitely control is probably the most difficult one. How they're paid also is a big one. Are they W-9? Are they W-2? Do they have to bid on the job, etc.?
One of the things that I see frequently, and I don't know if you do with the independent contractors, is a lot of times it's hard to actually prove their wages too, because a lot of times they're just paid by cash and there's no documentation of what they were paid at all.
Right, we see that a lot, particularly in cases with the Minnesota Assigned Risk Plan. It's a lot of these smaller alleged independent contractors where they're paid cash, there's really no agreements, and you can pretty much shut the door on that defense. You can allege it from the beginning, you at least have a good faith denial, but those are very difficult to prove if you don't have some kind of documentation as to how they're paid.
Our next one here, real quick, is it's a black truffle hot sauce from Melinda's, it's actually made in Colombia, and then imported to the U.S. It's sweet, similar to a truff hot sauce.
Mm-hmm. This is a kind of a delayed heat. I thought I was going to be better with this. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I thought it was going to be okay.
So, what happens if an independent contractor doesn't have work comp coverage?
So usually the special compensation fund will step in and pay, and then they have a lien basically against that employer to go after them for whatever it is that they paid.
And that could be the general contractor potentially, right? Or
It
the
can
independent
be.
contractor.
It can be. It can be whoever allegedly hired the employee. So, if you've got subcontractor A hired the employee and they don't have insurance, they can go through the subcontractor and they can go up the chain as well to get their money back, basically.
Okay. Is there any limitation on that of like how many steps you could go or how far away it could potentially be?
So the limitation is basically, what we should talk about, which is the general contractor liability statute. So what the special compensation fund will do generally, if they step in and see that a subcontractor is not insured, they'll see if there is another subcontractor that's insured or a general contractor that's insured. Because pursuant to Minnesota Statute 176.215, general contractors have liability over their subcontractors' hires for workers' compensation insurance.
We're gonna go to our next one here real quick. This is actually Sweet Diablo, it's called. It's a ghost pepper and scorpion pepper base, but it's
I don't like that. It's scorpion pepper.
but it's prickly pear and balsamic hot sauce.
I'm sure that just evens it out then. All right. I don't like that at all. Scott.
General contractors ordered to pay by the compensation judge. Does the general contractor have any recourse against the alleged independent contractor for failing to have work comp insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, they sure do.
Okay.
So if a general contractor, hold on a second.
This is
I thought you were
going
taking
exactly
it.
as
I thought you
planned.
were taking it easy on me.
I am.
So general contractor has to step in because they're insured, because a subcontractor hired somebody who's an employee. Then if they have an award against them, they do have a subrogation interest against the subcontractor. So they can go after them in conciliation court or district court depending on the amount of money that they're trying to recover. And that's what I would recommend for subrogation, because then basically they can garnish wages or property of the subcontractor.
Okay. So there is a remedy for the
Yes.
general contractor. Are there ever any penalties that would be affiliated with this?
Generally, the penalties, though, are for the special compensation fund, where they can recover a 65% penalty.
Okay.
But the other thing, too, is the special compensation fund, if they go after, if they get an award and they have a judgment against a subcontractor or a general contractor, they can actually assert a lien against their property via the work comp decision. So the special compensation fund has a little bit of a caveat in that they can garnish property wages from a work comp decision,
Okay.
where it's a special statute, whereas if you're actually a general contractor and you pay, you should probably go through district court.
District court at that point.
Yep.
Okay. Our second to last one here is habanero hot.
I'm not over this
infusion.
one yet.
This will help take away some of it. So here we go.
Okay. How is that supposed to help me? That's worse.
Yeah, it got rid of the lower heat. What are some other things that we should be aware of when we're talking about work comp and independent contractors? I know there's a lot of different types of employment that can fall under this, and like even a babysitter, a lot of, you mentioned truck drivers, construction are kind of some of the common ones that we see.
Yep. So something that not a lot of employers know, the general contractor statute, which again is 176.215, can apply in areas outside of construction. And so that's important to note. Either this case specifically on the trucking industry, where it's a carrier that hired a trucking company to transport goods, and they were found to be a general contractor. There's a case about a real estate investor who owned a property and hired contractors, being the general contractor. There's 5 factors to look at to assess whether an entity is a general contractor. 1 is whether the alleged general contractor has assumed obligations on a contract with a third party. 2 is whether the alleged subcontractor and its employees are engaged in work upon which is subject matter of the third party contract. 3rd is, I can't even read, my eyes are watering, whether the alleged general contractor has an interest in the work performed by the alleged subcontractor and its employees, including receipt of profits from that work. 4 is whether the alleged general contractor has my tongue is frozen right now.
Numb?
It's numb.
Yeah, that's a good
Whether the alleged general contractor has the right to exercise control over the work of the alleged subcontractor and its employees. So these factors for the general contractor are similar in nature to those independent contractor factors, where it's control. Do they have an interest in it? Do they make a profit off of it?
Right.
And so, like you mentioned, it's possible, I guess, for example, if you own your home and you hire under contract a nanny, and the nanny is not insured, that the coverage, falls to you, whether as an employee or a subcontractor. If they bring a friend, these are things that should be considered when you're hiring anybody to do work around your house.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
We got one left here, and this is Matuke's Calypso sauce.
Uh-huh.
This is made in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
And it is Scotch bonnet peppers.
That sounds terrible.
They're pickled.
I feel like you said that you were going to take it easy on me, and that was a lie.
This is easy.
Uh-huh. Okay.
This one might get you, though. If people have questions on, independent contractor issues, sounds like you're a good person to contact.
Yeah, I have a lot of these cases. I handle a lot of construction. So this is kind of an area that I see a lot, and I will tell most clients that it's very difficult to prove independent contractors, generally speaking. And so if we can find other ways around it, jurisdictional issues, things like that, it's good to explore all options. But I also usually recommend a good faith denial at the front end, so you can do the appropriate amount of discovery, which unfortunately requires a lot of legwork on these cases. And sometimes you need to hire an investigator if they have to go out and track down the employer and try and figure out, what exactly the employment relationship was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, if anybody has questions about independent contractors, everyone here at Offit 40 is a great resource. We look forward to working with you. Thank you again, Natalie, for
Thanks for having
yourself.
me. It was great. It was a great time.
Cheers.
Cheers.